Finally, sort of front end, performance optimizations and speed traps. So I'll cover a few of those. There's some optimization plugins out there. Again, this is a WordPress specific context, but other CMSs work in similar ways that allow you to what's called minify, which basically reduce and concentrate HTML and CSS. So basically what they do is they just squash all the amount of data that is being served to users and make it smaller. Right, so if the data is less, then it's going to be faster. Right, it's as good as making your server bigger. So easy to use and a high ROI. So again, things like WP Rocket, EW Optimizer, these optimization plugins typically will make sense for most people. Images, I just spoke about one of those image optimizers, EWW Image Optimizer. There's a bunch of other ones out there. But different file formats, different image file formats have different file sizes. And if you've got a homepage, we see this all the time, where people have got uncompressed images or images saved in inefficient file formats like animated GIF, then that's going to have an impact on your site performance, and it's going to lead to results like I shared earlier with the Empire of the Cops site, where you've got 17 seconds to load it. You optimized. So got to ask the question, do you really need a 4K by 3K hero image at 300 PPI on a website, right? Think about what you actually need and don't upload images that are bigger and heavier than they need to be.
Yeah.
So again, there's tools and plugins that do that for you. Work with an expert if you're not. Another area where we see people often neglecting free gains to performance is simply not running on the latest version of PHP. Right, so 45% of the web still uses PHP 5. As you can see from that graph, every version of PHP is faster than the previous one, and it's just a free boost. Right, all you got to do is upgrade to the latest version of PHP. You've got to make sure your website's compatible, and we've got a compatibility checker in the WordPress repository that people can use. It's freely available to anyone. You don't have to be a WP Engine customer. Just search for PHP compatibility checker. But you really should take advantage of this because it's just such a simple no-brainer.
Right.
And another one is just offloading assets that you're not using or that aren't a core part of your content management system or don't need to be there. So excuse me, obvious ones are things like videos. Use something like YouTube or Brightcove. Use a third-party platform for serving that stuff. They're designed specifically for that purpose. Same with audio files. Anything that you can get off your server and onto a third-party platform is going to help improve the performance of your site. Okay.
Yeah. So on the previous one, right? There are dozens and dozens of video players out there, or video hosting providers out there, right? You've obviously picked up the most famous and the most reliable ones, right? How should somebody be, choosing, making this choice? Because it becomes a tricky call when they're sort of looking at additional functionalities from some of these video players, right? For example, Vistia goes beyond just hosting your videos. They also help you do lead generation using videos, right? YouTube also helps you play ads and so on and so forth, right? But these are very, very straightforward choices to be made. There are every player is sort of now trying to build its own USP by saying, okay, you know what, we will serve ads and we'll help you monetize, or we'll do something X, we'll do something X and Y and Z, right? When we sort of pick up one of these platforms, right, how should we sort of go about what's that decision making criteria for this?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that's often missed, and that we don't have affiliations with video serving platforms, right? It's really a business decision based on the functionality requirements and strategy of the site owner. One thing that we see that people often don't do is consider the long-term roadmap for their site, right? So, changing providers is, is work, right? It's time. It's, time spent, evaluating different options and getting agreements in place and doing a technical change to your site and so on. So, I guess we would always encourage people to, try and think of something that's going to serve them, for the long haul. Don't just pick the first plugin that's going to serve your immediate, or the first tool or platform that's going to serve your immediate need right now. Think about what you might need in 6 or 12 months or 2 years in the future, because probably your site is going to change and evolve, and you want to be with a platform that's going to support that. For some businesses, it might be appropriate to have ads in their video content. For others, it might not. Is going to have better information to make an informed decision than than we would be able to advise as a WordPress platform provider.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
Another area where people can improve, we've put here start with blocks instead of themes. So WordPress 5 has a new visual page editor called Gutenberg. It uses visual blocks that are reusable, so it makes the process of creating content a lot easier and a lot more structured. And it enables you to build sites easily without necessarily using a full theme. And the issue with themes is that, particularly free themes, which we'd urge people to, steer clear of, they often come with bloated functionality and content that's not required. So, if you think about someone that's building a free theme, they're trying to cater for a wide audience, right? They want as many people as possible to use it. And therefore, they're typically going to have a lot of different stuff in there, some of which you don't need. And therefore, if you've got a bloated theme, you're straight away starting away with a performance hit on your site. So if you can actually build your site without, a theme, or if you do have to use a theme, use a theme that is designed specifically for the business that you're in, right? So if you're real estate or publishing, try and use a theme that's built for that, so that it doesn't have anything superfluous, and so that it runs as efficiently as possible for your specific business. Make sense?
You know what? This is such a sensitive topic. I think it could be a standalone webinar in itself, because
it could be.
Yeah, because the amount of bloatware that's available with some of the themes, and if you pick up the wrong thing, if you have a one-page website and you pick up a full-blown visual builder for that, it just adds unnecessary load, right? And it makes it so inefficient. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying there's never a place for themes. I mean, we provide access to StudioPress themes to our customers, and, there's some fantastic themes in there. But I guess, definitely at minimum steer clear of anything that is not built, for your type of business specifically, because it's probably bloated. It's probably got stuff in there that you don't need. It's probably going to give you a performance tax. But you're right. True. A lot of these topics could be, talks of their own for 45 minutes or more. But being frugal with plugins from a WordPress perspective, and again, most other CMSs, you want to minimize the number that you're using. You want to remove them when you're no longer using them critically. Even if you're not using a plugin actively, it's still leaving a footprint, if it's installed. So physically deinstall anything that you don't need. Best practice, they say, is less than 20, but it does depend on the efficiency of your plugins. And that's where a tool like New Relic, which looks at application performance, as I mentioned earlier, can really help, because it's going to help you identify how your plugins are performing. There's a site called pipinsplugins.com that's got 86 plugins on it, and it loads in like 3 or 4 seconds, because they're all efficient plugins, and the site still works really well. Whereas you might have 10 plugins, but one of them's a real resource hog, and your site goes slow. So most important thing, again, have a monitoring place that allows you to quickly identify if something is having a big performance tax on your site, including a plugin. Avoid admin-ajax like the plague. Again, quite a tech one, but admin-ajax uses Apache to dynamically render elements on a page. That is incredibly resource intensive and impossible to cache. So, again, try everything that you can to avoid using it, and encourage your developers equally to do likewise. lazy load is great. What it does is basically only loads initially what's being seen on your site. So if you've got a page that's, you know, where people would normally scroll down, you don't have to load the whole scrolled page, you know, before, you know, in one go. You can just load the bit that someone's going to see in their initial view, and then load the rest when they scroll down and when they need to. And again, you know, that's all about just being more efficient and not, you know, adding work or downloading stuff that you don't need, you know, right now, or may not need at all. InnoDB, this is another, you know, relatively straightforward one that a lot of people miss. So, you know, MySQL used by WordPress has a traditional MyISAM database engine, but it's not very efficient. InnoDB, if you can switch over to that, it locks off less of the data when accessing a table and makes it far faster. So if you've got a database, a site that you know is with a big database that's used quite intensely, you know, this is going to give you a big boost if you're not doing it already. And finally, clean your database, right? So, you know, like anything over time, you know, like your house or your car, you accumulate junk over a period of time, and you need to clean it out. So there's plugins out there like, you know, Advanced Database Cleaner that you can use to automate that process to make it easier to clean out stuff that you no longer need. WP Sweep is another one. Again, remember to deinstall those plugins once you've finished using them, because you don't need to be installed all the time. And, you know, there's a lot of content out there, but I'd like to kind of give an example of what success looks like, right? So, you know, obviously at WP Engine, with, you know, all of the customers that we support, with our focus on, you know, being the unequivocal leader in performance for WordPress sites and WordPress hosting. You know, we focused a lot of effort on constantly trying to improve performance over time. And this shows the average latency of one of our pods over the course of 2019. And as you can see, it's gone down, you know, consistently over the course of the year, as we have, you know, constantly done, you know, PHP upgrades and, you know, all the different tweaks that we've done as technology evolves to try and constantly improve performance. So, you know, this is possible. And if you're going to deliver increasingly rich and more dynamic digital experiences to your customers, then, you know, you need to be, you know, making up for that by, you know, doing everything that you can on the other side to try and help your site run more efficiently over time as well. Interestingly as well, we actually upgraded all of our customers to the latest Google instances called C2 instances last year, which are the latest generation of you know, processing technology, essentially. You know, and that has a huge performance benefit, but this graph actually excludes that. So even without that, you know, hardware upgrade that we were able to do to give our customers access to the latest hardware, we were still able to achieve, you know, a significant increase in performance over time. And there's a little blog article there that sort of talks through the things that we did over the year to achieve that as well, which might be useful for the audience.
Interesting, yeah.